I recently watched a live stream that Dave the Distributist did. If you guys don't know who that is, I highly recommend you check out his channel. I'm actually planning on linking the video in its entirety. It's a 3-hour live stream, but I'm going to link it in its entirety because I think it was a very good debate performance from Dave's side. The person that he debated, it was kind of like a debate discussion. Near the end, it was more of a discussion, but this guy named Nathan Cofnas, had never heard of him before this, but he didn't convince me that I should know about him after this either. But I guess he works in the academy, so that's what this whole discussion was about. And Dave has been talking about this thing that I've been thinking about for several months. This term called elite human capital. And essentially what that means, for those that don't know, is these are the quote-unquote experts of our age, right? And we kind of have a crisis of experts right now across all spectrums, be it gender, race, religion, philosophy. Pretty much just damn near everything is just so low tier now that it's almost not worth mentioning. But in this discussion, Dave was talking to this Nathan Cofnas guy. They both have PhDs, by the way. So I didn't know this about Dave, but I guess he's like a mathematician. And this Cofnas guy, I don't know, like science or something, but they're both like PhDs. So by Dave's own standard, these would be the elite human capital. And essentially all it means in the modern world is you're degreed. That's what I'm getting at. And this whole discussion happened, if you guys aren't familiar, maybe it was just a month ago now, but Douglas Murray went on Joe Rogan with Dave Smith, and they talked about the Israel war, the genocide in Gaza, like all that stuff going on. Just for your guys' knowledge, I don't have a stance on this. My stance is pretty much like I don't care about either side. I try to keep the Israel talk a little bit lower too on the channel, only because of YouTube. Because right now we have literal politicians using the term anti-Semitism to like do anything, and it could all just be a ruse. But it's really ridiculous. Like every time the Trump admin does anything, they do it under the guise of preventing anti-Semitism. So I've discussed neoconism and all that in the past. You would know what this is. But what spurned this discussion, this debate online, I guess you could say, is that you had Douglas Murray, who is an expert, go on Joe Rogan to defend Israel, and then you had Dave Smith, who is a podcaster. That's like the big, right? By their definition, like I'm a podcaster, so I wouldn't be an expert. And this is just like a classic example of like in-group, out-group is what's occurring here. The expert class is like a diseased, corrupt temple, and anyone that's attacking their hegemony is obviously on the out-group. And so Douglas Murray he's a gay pro-Israel, like he actually is gay. He's a gay pro-Israel shill, essentially. He literally is just a shill. After I actually did watch some of the Joe Rogan. I couldn't watch all of it because I don't know, Joe Rogan's kind of boring to me, so I don't really watch a lot of his stuff. I think I watched the Donald Trump one, the JD Vance one. I kind of watched, and then I did watch the Mel Gibson one all the way through. But typically, I don't watch him. I've got nothing against Joe Rogan. He's too normie for me. But, you know, the whole basis for this discussion was that Joe Rogan's not an expert, Dave Smith is not an expert, but Douglas Murray is an expert. And so this is what spurned on the whole thing, right? Like, how dare Joe Rogan have, and also Daryl Cooper, if you guys don't know who that is, Martyr Made. Joe Rogan has had all these people on his podcast. And the premise was like, how dare, right? How dare you have these people on that are not experts discuss things that are only the expert class, right? Only the our state-ordained orthodoxy can deem, you know, a reliable opinion. If you guys get what I'm saying, right? You saw this a lot during COVID, you know, Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci was like the chief priest of the New World Order. You know, there were like these literal sacrosanct. Sorry, fumbling my words tonight. It is the evening, so I'm kind of tired right now. I apologize, but I think you get what I'm getting at. Like, if you guys know anything about elite theory, I could make more videos on it if you guys, but there's a lot of people that have already done a much better job. If you guys are on the dissident right or the alt right or, you know, whatever, you guys know these theories, right? The elite theory is that we have like a cabal of elites. I mean, drain the swamp with Trump. We have a cabal of elites that run everything. And again, I think most people are at this point pretty aware of that happening in reality. So I don't feel the need to go into detail for the sake of time, you know, so this video doesn't end up being like an hour long. But yeah, the whole thing started of this elite human capital. Like, that's kind of the theme of this video. Like, what I'm going to be basing it around theme-wise is that we have this concept of elite human capital, but the contention that you saw on the Joe Rogan podcast and why Dave had this debate with Nathan Cofnas is that there are the credentialed experts. And again, these would be people that are degreed. They've gone through the college system, whatever that means anymore, right? That actually doesn't mean anything. In any case, it's actually a detriment, I'd say, to intellectual thought and idea. But there still is this mind wipe where it's like people are clinging to this as if the only way that you can judge an expert is if he has a PhD in whatever. And like, that's literally what Douglas Murray was essentially postulating. He was almost talking as if the only way you could look at the Israeli war is if you had like a PhD in Israel, essentially. There's the meme going around where he literally asked Dave Smith, like, have you been there? Have you actually been to, he says Israel, have you ever actually been to Israel? If you haven't been to Israel, and it's just ridiculous on its face. It's like you've had to have been there to not want to pay for it, because that's what this whole thing started over, is, you know, that, and I'm very much pro on this. Like, I don't want to support this, right? Like, I don't want my tax money. Like, we're already taxed to death, and now we know what we're taxed on. It's like, I just don't want to spend money on these things. I don't care about the neocon dispensationalist Zionist project. And then on the other side, I don't care about the doomsday climate change leftist cult either. Like, I don't care about either of it. And that's what all this is about. Our elite human capital in current day it's more of a form of containment, if you guys know what that is. Again, I'm saying it more and more in the videos. I'm assuming you guys are a very smart audience, because again, I'm making my channel late. Like, I'm doing these videos late. For the past 10 years, people have been explaining these things online. And you know, I'll be happy to go into this in more depth if you guys want. Sorry, there's a mosquito. But just for like the sake of these videos not being like an hour long each. You know, containment briefly is essentially that this is like the whole point of the university system, right? They let in the people they want. Like what we're seeing right now is the left wing runs the academy, so they let all the left wingers graduate with honors, and they give them all these like tenured positions and student loan forgiveness programs and all. And I'm talking about like the actual like activists, right? Like AOC's types. Like these are literal state creations. Like AOC is not organic. Someone like Jasmine Crockett, not organic. That chick they put on the Supreme Court, Biden, which we found out, I guess, an auto pen did it. So like no, literally Biden was not the president for 4 years. That's like what we just learned. But what is her name? I don't even remember. There's this black chick that was put on the Supreme Court, and she's like really inept. All this diversity, right? Like this is they're buying into the religion of the left, which is progressivism, so they get the tenured positions. And so containment is it happens on the left and the right. And so on the right, Douglas Murray would represent a containment, because he says he's the right, but all he is there for is to push the neocon Zionist agenda. I hope that's making sense. And so the whole point of all of this is that that's what elite human capital is in the modern world. It doesn't have anything to do with merit. It doesn't have anything to do with skill or intellect, or they always throw around IQ. All it has to do with is, do you buy into my religion, which is progressivism? Do you worship, or do you hate white people as if they're the devil? Because it's pretty much become apparent. There's like no way around that reality anymore. Like I try not to talk too much about the race thing, but it's so in your face now, right? I always joke with my younger friends that like the millennials, they battled the feminism because that was our big thing, Gamergate and all that. But the Zoomers are the ones that are like facing the race question. So that's why I'm hopeful for the future. I always talk about that, because that's kind of actually the point of this video, like where I was going to get with to the end here, is that, I'll get to that at the end. But yeah, so you have this discussion with Dave and Nathan, and it essentially boils down to, I couldn't tell if Nathan was like lying or if he was like just kind of stupid in certain areas. Like I literally couldn't tell. If you guys have watched like Big Bang Theory, I'm showing my age again. If you guys have watched the sitcom Big Bang Theory, and you know who the Sheldon character is, this guy very much gave off that vibe. He had that physiognomy. Of course, the early life checked out. He is indeed from our greatest nation over there. But at first I was watching it because it's 3 hours, guys. This was a 3-hour thing that I watched. And I'm not saying it like I hated watching it. I love watching Dave the Distributist, but this was a really frustrating discussion, interview, or debate to watch, because I just couldn't tell if this guy was stupid or if he was lying, because there was like this point in the debate where they started talking about the housing crisis, essentially, like why nobody in their 30s and 40s can really buy houses anymore, like not like the boomers, right? Like I'm in a neighborhood right now, but like I live with my parents right now. The house that I'm in right now and all around me, there's no way I could afford any of these houses. And that's just a reality. Like most people understand that, but this Nathan Cofnas guy didn't understand that. And he was making the argument that it's better to live, it's a better time economically now than it was in the 1990s. And his argument was like, well, we can buy washers and dryers now. And it's like, even Dave eventually pointed this out. I was like, why would you want a washer and dryer if you don't have a house to put it in? And so, yeah, the first part of this debate was kind of like that. It was like, I couldn't tell if this guy was just dumb. And the reason why I'm so confused is because near the end, it kind of got on track. It was what inspired me to make this video. Sorry for the camera shaking. I'm trying to balance my arm on this bench. I kind of like making the videos out here. Gives me like a little bit more breathing room. You know, sometimes the neighbors look at me weird, whatever. If you guys haven't checked out Cameron McGregor yet, by the way, he's really a cool guy. He's on this show with Rebecca Blonde called The Backlash that they do now. If you don't know, Rebecca Blonde in The Belly of the Beast, probably a lot of people might have heard of her. But Cameron McGregor, he always makes these videos. Like, he'll be like walking down the streets in like cities, like talking about the Jews, and he'll just like make these videos about like race realism, black fatigue, the Jews. He'll just talk about all of it while he's just like walking down the street. So he kind of inspired me. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just start making videos in like weird places. Unfortunately within reason, because I'm still a wagey, but you know, that's something I'm working on. I've made past videos about it, about how you can escape the corporate America lifestyle, but I'm digressing. I just tend to do that, right? Get a little rambly, but yeah, so near the end of the discussion, it became more of a discussion. That's why I keep saying it. It like kind of started out as a debate, and it became a discussion by the end. And Dave has talked about this, the elite human capital thing in the past, but near the end, they kind of started talking about, okay, like Trump's in office now. He's purging departments. He's purging government, right? Like the verdict is still out on the Doge thing. I have a theory about all of that I'll probably make later about what Doge really was. And ultimately, I don't think Elon actually cares about what he says he does as far as Doge. I think he still believes in the GDP thing. But I have an Elon video planned. I was going to wait until the Doge thing was done. And also, I want to see what happens with Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio, because he's running for governor. He's part of that saga. But yeah, like Trump is purging everything, right? He's cleaning up the universities. He's cleaning up government. You're seeing like crazy layoffs. You know, it's kind of messy. A lot of people are saying that. You know, the tariffs. It is kind of, he's just taking like a literal sledgehammer this time to everything. It's unfortunate, as I've said in the past, because he's thinking in terms of 4 years when he should be thinking in terms of this government no longer functions, therefore I am king. That's kind of how I would look at it. But he still is doing things. He's doing things. I made a video, like, even though nothing is happening, things are happening. Like I look at it like, even if Trump doesn't succeed, the spirit of the age is going to propel this thing forward. And we've got the millennials, we've got the Zoomers, and the Gen X are finally entering politics more readily now. Like they were in it, but it's like going to, when the boomers start dying, it's going to be can't talk, sorry. It's going to be predominantly Gen X. And then, you know, millennial Zoomers. So as the younger, that's my like theory basically, is like Trump has like started the movement of reality, because it's not really right wing or left wing at this point. It's kind of like, are we going to survive, right? Are we going to become Soviet Lysenkoism, where we start planting crops next to each other because communist crops grow better than non-communist crops? That's a real thing, by the way. Look it up. Or are we going to just get back to reality and be like, yeah, you know what? You know, you got to work. Women are not men, you know? There are differences between the races, right? You can't just have infinity Indians, infinity whatever, infinity immigration, and expect your country to survive just because GDP goes up, right? You want to study a good thing about GDP, go look at failing nations. Every time nations fail, Soviet Union, Weimar Germany, their GDP went up. But that's because $1 million was what you had to have to buy a loaf of bread. But in the term of GDP, right, it went up. So, yeah, Trump's doing a lot of things, and the spirit of the age is propelling it forward. But Dave and Nathan were kind of talking about, okay, this is now happening. Like, what do we do about this, right? Like, and it was specifically tailored toward the education system, the universities, right? The elite human capital factories, you could say. That's where our elites come from, quite literally, in this country. And they did talk about the relevant fact that, you know, all of these institutions in America, they started as Christian. You know, they became progressive over time, and like this is where woke came from. Woke is, progressivism has Christian priors, right? It took I call it the feel-good Jesus. It took the feel-goods of Jesus and it made that the religion. It's like, okay, well, it discards everything, harsh that Jesus said about like hating evil and all that, and it's just like, we just got to focus on the feel-goods. But then that led to, okay, let's just reject God with the Christian priors, and then this thing called woke spurns up from it. And if you actually study this, it's pretty easy to understand why woke is what it is. It's because people cannot exist in a vacuum without morality. And if they don't have that morality, they will invent that morality. And that's what woke is. It's what progressivism is. This is why I rag on the boomers, because they fell for this. But again, I give them sympathy. They were completely brainwashed into this. Most of them had no chance if you think about the circumstances. Would we have a chance? I always ask myself, if I grew up and, like everything seemed new, because like you got to just imagine the boomers' reality. Like everything seemed new. I guess that's kind of cool. I guess as it gets dark, my phone turns the flash on, but everything was new, and they had TV and all this, and I've talked about this, but it's easy to rag on the boomers, but it's like I always say, you have the courage to rag on the boomers, but you have the courage to sympathize with the boomers. It's kind of a little motto that I thrown around, but like we're entering this new age. To get back on track here, we're entering this new age, and that was kind of the discussion near the end. It's like, because Nathan is he is in the university system, so he's actually in a position to start being like the new vanguard, you could say, of like what the university are going to be in. But Dave is kind of on the outside now, but he's more on my lane of thinking, is that a lot of bad things were done in the name of, I'm going to turn this off, actually. I don't like the glare. A lot of bad things were done in the name of science during COVID, right? And I didn't even know this. Dave said 9 million. I guess like 9 million people died because of the virus. And, I don't know if we can really talk about it, but you get what I mean. All of the ramifications of COVID. It's been 5 years. And yeah, I guess, again, I made a whole video about this. We found out Joe Biden was a vegetable throughout the whole thing. So a giant coup, this is like a crime. I think this might be the worst crime in American history. Like, there's no doubt about it. And that's where Dave's at, and I'm with him too. It's like, okay, we can fix the universities. We can create new capital, elite human capital, but like, how are we going to prevent this from happening again if we don't punish these people, essentially? And this whole thing revolves around what I started with, like, why is Joe Rogan and Dave Smith and Douglas Murray relevant in this? It's because even if people aren't experts, it's more important that someone is not lying to you than if they're lying to you. And Dave used that example. It's like, Douglas Murray is an expert, but Douglas Murray is paid to lie to you. Joe Rogan is not an expert, but yeah, even I can admit, Joe Rogan, he doesn't come off as someone that's lying to me. In fact, Joe Rogan is pretty curious. It seems like I don't agree with his progressive liberalism, but he has like people on there, and he's had his epochs, you could say, before COVID, like we all kind of did. But that, again, that was what Dave brought up. It's like COVID was a dividing line in the sand. It's like, okay, this is the real deal. And like from then on, it's like who is lying and who is not. And it's like plain as day now who is lying. The whole mirage of this thing has come crumbling down around them in spectacular fashion. And yeah, that's kind of the point of the video I was going to make, is that near the end of it, he was talking about how like all these institutions are going to start crumbling around you. I've talked in the past how like things might stop just working. We're already kind of seeing it, like planes are falling out of the sky. It's not even just a capital problem. It's like we need people to run society, but we need men to lead the people that run society. And then there's the whole woman question. It's like we still kind of believe in this feminism thing as a society. So like, is that going to go away? Who knows? Like by 2030, I've talked about it, by 2030, the millennials are basically largely done as a generation as far as children and families. Like even me in 2030, I'll be 42. You know, that's not saying that I can't find like some Zoomer girl to marry, but you know, for the women, largely, it'll be over. The women will be in their 40s and single and childless. So there's that coming too. And so, yeah, the gravitas of this question kind of struck me. I was like, oh man, this is a video topic because, you know, I'm pretty black-pilled, as I've said, but I'm a man. You know, I've got that masculine urge in me where it's like, yes, I do want to fix things. I want society to be better. It doesn't have to be like this. It's like that classic Ron Paul meme. Like, it never had to be like this. All you had to do was listen, right? But you know, it was interesting because it's like, yeah, this is true. Like, the boomers are going to go out. We're going to have this new crop of young men coming up, right? Like Dave basically said, like when the Zoomers are our age, right? So that's like 10 years, 5-10 years, more likely 10 years down the line. So like in 2035, when the Zoomers are our age, there's going to be a lot of them because they're more conscious of this stuff, right? They're more conscious of the race question. They're more conscious of the woman question. They're more conscious of the JQ, right? They're just more conscious overall because this is a generation that was literally entirely raised on the internet. Millennials were half and half. Zoomers entirely raised. I've talked to Zoomers. They weren't even born when the Twin Towers fell. Like, they don't even know what it was like to see that. So that's what it is. And it's a valid question because it's who's going to lead them? What's going to happen when these young men are my age, right? And the economy gets worse, right? Say it just keeps getting worse and they're denied. They're denied from jobs. They're denied from the elite institutions too, because that's another thing is that there are people right now, Dave is one of them, there are people right now that are smarter than your average elite. Again, watching this interview, this Nathan Cofnas guy, like, he's nothing special. It's like if this is what they're passing off for like smart people from the millennial generation, like, we're kind of screwed on that front. I hope I'm making sense with this. I'm kind of rambling a little bit because, you know, it was a 3-hour interview, but I'm trying to like encapsulate. And again, I would encourage you all to watch the interview as the sun continues to go down and it gets darker. It's a good theme for the video as your doom approaches you. It's a good theme for the video, right? Because I'm kind of getting to my closing statement here, which is there's going to be a lot of right-wing energy propelled forward into the future from what Trump has done. There's going to be a lot of young men that will need guidance. There's going to be a lot of older men like myself that will want to give the guidance, but if this system continues the way it has been going, there will be no outlet for that, right? Because that's why Dave was saying, like, we need punishment, we need justice, we can't just let Fauci. It basically is just like Anthony Fauci was pardoned by an auto pen. Okay, just think about that. You had a vegetable in office. It's now been confirmed. He's had butt cancer for we don't know how long. He could have had cancer the whole presidency, right? He was never mentally there. There was literally a coup. There were insiders running our government. You know, and there's arguments that it's always been that way. You know, I agree. The bureaucracy has probably been running the show for longer than we care to admit. But with Biden, it was quite literal, quite in your face. Donald Trump clearly won the election in 2022. That was denied, and so that's why I was joking. He won the third term. All of this stuff is now out in the open, right? And the question is do we just let someone like Anthony Fauci ride off into the sunset, you know, retire and go get to live in the Bahamas somewhere? It's a good question. Do we allow the underlings of Anthony Fauci, right? These would be the people that would have been tutored by him, right? The next crop of our elites coming up, like our leftist overlords coming up, our elite human capital, right? Or do we go the Trump direction where it's heading, right? I made the video, the Trump phenomenon, what it actually means. Do we grasp the spirit of the age and propel society forward in a positive direction, right? Just getting back to reality. It's not even a radical position. Like, do we, you know, like there's a crown in the gutter, right? Think of it like whatever you want, like Lord of the Rings. I don't know, just like, is somebody going to pick up the crown and put it on? You know, Trump kind of did that, but what happens after Trump? So I think I'm going to end it there. It's starting to get really dark. But it's something to think about, guys. Something to think about. I'll turn on the flash now just to end this. It's something to think about. You know, I try to make these videos a little bit tame just for YouTube, you know, because I don't know where the future's going. I don't know what happens after Trump. We're in this really weird limbo where a lot of things are happening, like I said, but like, is anything going to happen? Nobody's being punished. Trump's firing a lot of grunts, but it's like, yeah, you got to go after the heads of the snake here. Another one is Joe Biden, quite literally. Like, they're all criminals. Like, it's just objectively true. And so it's just kind of like, what is going to be done? What is the future for men? What is the future for America? I'd say even men and women, because regardless of what feminists think, this does affect them. And the Zoomers are going to learn a very hard lesson with millennials. I'm telling you, the millennial woman thing is going to be very devastating. It's going to break my heart. It's already broken my heart in many ways, just thinking about it, because, you know, regardless of this, another thing, regardless of what feminists think, men do love women. We're kind of programmed that way. So like, we don't like being in this position either, where we have to pretend to hate you all the time. That's why the red pill's stupid. We're not going to survive as a society, I don't want to say species, because I don't really believe it'll be that way, because, you know, we could just have a lost generation, but this society, certainly as it's run now, will not survive. But what's coming after it, will it be able to survive this? I guess this inevitable fall, changing of the guard, right? Return of the king, you could say. And that's a whole nother video. You know, I tend to be more on the monarchical side, the monarchist side. Like I said, there's a crown in the gutter, guys. There's a crown in the gutter. Who's going to take it? And it just got me thinking, yeah. Our elites have failed us as it stands now, but we've got a lot of potential out there. And I just don't want to see it go to waste. So anyway, guys, that is the video. If you guys like this, again, I didn't say it. I'm forgetting. I don't really care to say it, but especially if you guys have watched this entire video, I appreciate it so much. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, you know, comment down below. I appreciate the few comments that I do get. I've only received a couple negative ones, actually. I thought I was going to get a lot more hate than I get, but you guys have been awesome so far, so I appreciate it. And yeah, with that, I will talk to you all later.